Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation. Hello?
Hi, Josh.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, it's Ian here.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
No, you're very welcome. How are things going?
I'm doing great, especially now being able to talk to you about an amazing new release from Marillion, such as what's been going on with this upcoming live release.
It's been really very well received. I mean, we're all really we're blown away by the response from our fan base. It's been really good.
Oh, and I'm so glad to hear that too, and it's such an amazing concept to have like a small part of an orchestra being able to play live with you and being able to help recreate some amazing songs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but, well, I mean, it all started really at our last conventions a few years back when Steve, our singer Steve, approached the quartet to see whether they'd be up for just doing a couple of tracks with us live at a convention in Holland, and it worked so well that we just it became a bit of an inspiration, really. So then it ended up us doing a gig in London a couple of years back. The first half of the show, we just played the Fear album, and then there was an interval, and then the girls joined us for the second half of the show, and it just worked so well. We thought, we've got to do this again. And it was Mike Hunter, our producer, that just said, why don't we go into a studio and re-record some of our older tracks, and I'll do some string arrangements, strings plus French horn and flute arrangements, and see how it goes, just for a bit of fun, really. And well, it worked out so well, and we're a few gigs into this tour now of the UK, and it's different. It's very different to how we usually. I mean, it's what I call a posh tour. You know, we're playing symphony halls around England. Most of them are seated, so we were wondering what how our fans was going to react to it. But they sit there and they listen, and they seem to be getting off on it. And the girls are just the girls in the string quartet are so into it, because it's very different to what they're used to doing. They're used to playing in symphony orchestras and operas and whatnot all around Europe. So it's been good fun.
Oh, that's just incredible too, and I can imagine when it comes to those live shows, I imagine both those in the string quartets and yourselves. I mean, just being able to do different kinds of opportunities like that, whether you're playing different versions of songs or you're playing different kinds of shows, it's just a great feeling.
It is. I mean, we've stuck very much very close to the original arrangements, but Mike has changed a few bits and pieces here, and so where the quartet is featured more. And some of the tracks, I think we've bettered the originals, to be honest. There's a track called Estonia, and the string arrangement on that is so sympathetic to the original track, and it really does shine. And what else have we done? Season's End, that track. The whole end section of Season's End is I don't know what time signature it's in, Josh. I think it's in 7.
Yes.
It's in 7, but it's just very atmospheric, and the girls start that section with this kind of pizzicato string part. It just really works well. So, we're very pleased, especially seeing we only did it for this album. We thought originally we'd just let it out to our fan club people. I think that was the original idea, just so they had something to go on for the tour. And once we recorded the backing tracks, suddenly it all got a little bit more serious. We thought, wait a minute, this is actually really, really good. We're enjoying it so much. So we made it a little bit more of a serious album. To the surprise of our fan base, actually, when we announced it, they had no idea what we were up to. So it was a nice progression the way it all took place.
Oh, absolutely. And it completely took me by surprise as well, too. I mean, I was just so happy to hear that as well. I mean, being able to hear some songs that I've loved in the past and just being able to have even more of an emotional attachment behind it because of the strings being attached to it, because strings can add so much emotion that some people don't even realize can be done when it's added to it. And when you get that to it for things like you said with Estonia, I think that's a great example of like a song just growing even more into a better song.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm glad we're in agreement, Josh. But I'm sure there's going to be some people that go, no, I want to hear just the originals and that's it. But we're always up for trying stuff. That's the thing, and we like to feel like we are kind of moving forward and progressing somehow. So, and it's strange because suddenly I'm looking around at tours various bands are doing, and it's like so and so and so with full orchestra. And you go, oh, all right then.
Yeah, and there's been so many bands who have done that previously, using like a full symphony orchestra, and this is just like a great subtle technique on these awesome Marillion songs. I mean, just being able to take 9 songs and just add a string quartet to them and just like give them a new sense of life that might not have been there otherwise.
Yeah. It's I'm touching wood here. As I said, I think it's working really well, and the girls they create a great atmosphere live as well because they're so into it. And it's going to be. I was talking to the boys in the band. I think it was just yesterday actually, saying it's going to be quite strange when we go on tour just as the 5 of us in future. It's going to be a little bit weird not having the girls around. Plus, they like to sing along on the tour bus as well, but we try and shut them up a bit because they're enjoying themselves too much. I'm sure we'll wear them down. I'm sure they'll become miserable soon.
Well, yeah, and I can imagine that from like both sides. Like you mentioned before, that they're so used to doing classical pieces, and of course, Marillion just used to being the 5-piece without a string section. I mean, for this tour, I mean, being able to do something different on both ends, I really think that's going to help inspire creativity going forward for both sides.
Yeah, I mean they're getting quite a lot of publicity for their string quartet, but the girls, as I said, the work they do is very diverse. They play all sorts of we call them they're proper musicians. So they play anything from as I said, operas, full blown symphonies to jazz ensembles they've worked with in Sweden and in Scandinavia. So they diversified immensely. I think Mike Hunter was a little bit concerned at first when he wrote the string arrangements that he was doing a good job, but they've been full of praise for him. And I mean, it's down to Mike. Mike has really took the bull by the horns, and it's kind of 98% Mike's work. The band just went in and recorded our usual stuff. So, for us, it was like going in the studio and just playing a gig because we know the track so well. A few of the arrangements were slightly different, but really nothing that dramatically different. Yeah. So we're really pleased. I'll keep. I'll watch this space, Josh. See what it's. We've still got a way to go on this tour. I've just done an overnighter from. Where were we playing last night? In Oxford, and we just done an overnighter, and I'm in Scotland now, in Glasgow.
Yeah, that's just incredible. I mean, it's so cool to see that it went from like 1 or 2 potential shows to being able to do a full-blown tour of the style, and of course being able to go in and re-record these songs. And yeah, and I was wondering about that too. It's just like knowing the songs so well, going into the studio and re-recording them. Did you get any feelings from the past of when you were recording these songs, or did it just feel like that you were just like playing a gig like you were mentioning before?
Yeah, we really went into real world studios, the Peter Gabriel studios. What we usually do when we're writing, if we're writing, say, a new studio album, we'll work in our own studio, just jamming mainly, and then once we've jammed for for a year or two, Michael records everything, and he'll compile hundreds of bits of music that he thinks have got a chance. And then he'll send them around to the band, and we'll listen to them, pick our favourites, then all compile a list and see whether we've all chosen the same bits of jams. And then we start arranging. And once we get to the arrangement, once we've finalised some arrangement, not finalised, but got some shape to some of the songs, we usually go down to real world studios just so it can become what I call a real band, because it's great. I mean, we're very fortunate to have our own studio, but at the same time, real life gets in the way there, and someone might have to rush home, pick up the kids from school, or feed the cat, or whatever. When we go down to real world, it's really just the band, and it's 24-hour music. We start in the mornings, break for lunch, back in the studio, break for dinner, after dinner, back in the studio, and so it really is like being in a real band, 24 hours, and it really is a fantastic atmosphere in that studio. And all the recording's done in one very big room. The control desk is in the room, the drum kit's in the room, the whole band's in the room. So, and in the middle this time with a string quartet, and Emma playing flute and Sam playing French horn. So, but yeah, so we very much felt like it was the band going in, doing a gig, but with a couple of subtle arrangement differences. And as I said, we didn't know whether it was going to work, but quite early on we had a good feeling about it.
Yeah, and again, I'm so grateful that this opportunity came up. I mean, being able to play some amazing songs like this in this kind of setting. I mean, when this was all coming together like this, and just for that first opportunity to be able to play with the string quartets and being able to add this new flair to it. I mean, how hard was it to decide like what songs were going to be used in this setting?
Well, when they originally joined us, Steve Hogarth had a vision of the girls, the curtains opening at the beginning of a concert, and the girls sitting there in the middle of the stage, all wearing powdered wigs and white makeup and ball gowns, like a proper vintage string quartet. So when those curtains opened, everyone just, I think their jaws dropped. Wow, what are Marillion doing now? And to be honest, I can't even remember which tracks we originally did. But it was Steve Hogarth was the instigator of the whole thing, really. So it's his fault. And it was he said to the band, I've got this idea about, I remember him saying it, he'd just done some work with someone in Sweden, and one of the viola player was involved in that, and he got chatting to her. I think that's how it came about. And he came back to the studio and he said, I've got this idea about the string quartet. I really think it'll work, and if it doesn't, I'll pay for it personally. That's what he said, and and everyone was going, And I backed him straight away, actually, because I could visualize it as well. I thought, yeah, this could really work. And well, if it didn't work, it didn't, but it did. So unfortunately, the band are paying for it.
And another way to look at that too, it's just like it's great to see that how it originally started with like being able to play the Fear album in its entirety, and then being able to switch over to this kind of setting. I mean, how was that for you, being able to do like a full-on electric set like that, playing an album in its entirety, then switching over to being able to play with this orchestra setup?
But that really worked very well, because the Marillion shows these days, we have quite a lot of back projection and films and whatnot that go with the whole show. And so the Fear album in its entirety, we did that album because it was so well received by our fan base. So we thought, well, we'll play it from top to bottom. And then when we had the interval, which was the Albert Hall in London, it's the first time we played there. So I think everyone was quite nervous. I think the expectations were very high. And we were filming it as well, filming the whole show. And usually most bands, when they're making a Blu-ray or a DVD, they film several shows, but we only had one shot at it because we're only doing one night at the Albert Hall, and it's such an iconic venue. I think just about every one of my heroes has played that place, so it's steeped in history. And so yeah, we were all quite nervous, but what happened after the interval, just the string section came on and played the whole intro to the track called The Space. Mm-hmm. And but the arrangement was basically I think just about exactly the same as the original version, and it lifted the roof off the place. So I think it just, from an audience point of view, it must have just taken the show up a couple of notches. It was just it was unexpected. It was a massive gamble on our part, but. All you can do is try your best, Josh, I think, and hope for the best. As I said, there's always going to be someone that's going to say, well, that was rubbish, but the majority rules, so...
Yeah, that's really true. And of course for yourselves, too. I mean, just going out there and trying to do something different like that. I think, it's like when you gamble on yourself, being able to go with your ideas, I think it's always more rewarding when you do follow your heart and, going in a direction that is potentially going to be more creatively satisfying, even if it's just for a little while. And that's why I'm so glad to see that this actually came into a full tour, and just being able to give this album proper promotion, and just being able to try something different in that live setting to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've always, really, Marillion has always followed our heart. I mean, I think maybe that's what people like about it. I mean, Steve Hogarth, when he writes a lyric, it's really from the heart. It's honest, and he can only sing songs and words that he truly believes in. That's why, I mean, when Steve first joined the band, I mean, he's still the new guy in the band, although he's been in the band since before electricity. But when he first joined, he said to us, what do you want me to do? And the four of us just said, look, Steve, just do whatever you want. Just be yourself. Just do your thing. And as far as the Fish era material, just sing what you feel. If you don't feel certain tracks, you don't have to sing them. And that's exactly what he stuck to. And there's certain tracks that he has never sung from that era of Marillion. But so all the way through, Marillion have always just done stuff that we wanted to do. We've never really listened to anybody. We've never been fashionable, thank God. So yeah, we just stick to our guns and we go in and do our thing. So we're probably quite cut off from the music business in a way of what's going on a lot of the time. So yeah, the only thing I can say is that we're always honest, and we always in the studio we just play what we feel. And I don't think anyone at any point has actually come into the studio for the whole career of Marillion, or since I've been in Marillion. I don't think any one person has ever come into the studio and said, hey guys, I've got a song, have a listen to this, what do you think? It just doesn't, we don't do it like that. We jam endlessly, and sometimes it can be very, very frustrating because we don't come up with anything for weeks or months. And then suddenly, in a week or two, we might hit a seam of something special and create ever such a lot in a few days. But it can be very frustrating. But at the same time, when we do hit one of those seams, it's usually the five of us that go, that's something, we all hear it.
Yeah, and that is what's so important, and it's like I do love that organic feel that Marillion has always had with being able to sit together, write these songs together, and knowing the direction that it should be going in. I mean, when you are together, I mean, it really does feel like. Just like you mentioned, like you know when you're onto something, like all of you can feel it, and it does come from that organic feeling of trying out a guitar riff or a bass riff or a keyboard riff or whatever the case is, and then just going off of it, and then just really letting the song just be organic and giving it that Marillion touch.
Yeah, as I said though, it can be very frustrating, but that is the way we do it, and we always have done it, and it can be, as I said, just incredibly frustrating, or suddenly you're elated, and it's those moments where you hit something great that keeps you going for a few weeks, I think, and usually during the process. It'll be Steve Hogarth will come along and say, he might come along and say, out of all the material that we've got so far for whichever album, I'm trying to think of an example. When we did the Brave album, we were well into the writing of all the material of that. And then Steve came along and said, look, I've got these lyrics, and I think it could be a concept. And he explained the concept to us, and we all just went, yes, it just feels right. And this was the germ of the idea came from a newspaper article that he'd read about this girl on a bridge in Wales that was just found wandering around in a bridge in the middle of the night. And that became the Brave album. So it was down to Steve Hogarth again. He has the mammoth task of writing all the lyrics and making sense of it all and matching his lyrics to whatever music's developed. But he does have another string to his bow, that he's a great musician, he's a great piano player as well. And he's been dabbling with guitars as well. He's probably one of the most consistent singers I've ever met in my life. The way he puts it out there every night, especially live. I probably lost the thread there, Josh, but
no, that's quite all right. I mean, I love that. I just love being able to hear that insight into there. It's just like even hearing that about Brave, and then just being able to hear that insight into how you're writing, the different styles. Of course, Steve's input into the band, be it lyrically, conceptually, musically as well too. And that's what I appreciate so much about ever since he's been in the band, and then of course with the Brave album, of course, and then 11 albums after that, being able to see what Fear being one of the most successful albums that Marillion has done to date, and just showing that in 2016 that as long as the band has been around, that it can continue to write some of its best music possible.
Well, we're still very much a band, and I still personally, anyway, I had the feeling. I mean, I remember when I first joined Marillion. I mean, I joined the band on the second album, the Fugazi album, and I joined just really as a session drummer because I think they'd had a bit of a Spinal Tap situation. They'd had about 5 or 6 drummers that hadn't worked out, and I went. Hello?
Oh, hi, I lost you there.
Something I said.
I think it was the Spinal Tap moment where you said that.
Sorry, Josh.
Oh, that's quite all right.
I'm still in my pajamas here. Sorry, what was I banging on about?
Cut off right when you were talking about how you joined on the Fugazi album as a session musician.
Yeah, and all I remember is that we recorded that album, and then shortly afterwards we had a tour to do. And I remember the first couple of gigs. I remember sitting behind the kit and going, "This is what I'm in it for. This is a real band." I'd been in some very good bands before, but it was usually just because of the kind of economic climate at the time. It was usually record an album with an artist and go out and be a kind of employed musician for the tour, and to whoever it was. But with Marillion, it was really 5 guys all in it together, all going down the same road, and it was just a very special feeling. And for me, it's still there, that feeling. When the 5 of us are together, I still feel that chemistry between us. So that's a good thing. I think I can say that on everyone's behalf, that it still feels special to all of us.
Oh, and it's so fantastic to hear that too. I mean, with so many albums, so many years together, and of course, many ups and downs that comes with being in a band. I mean, that would happen in any band. I mean, I'm just so grateful to see that in 2019 there's still this great experimentation and creativity that's going on throughout the band. Sometimes it's being able to add in some guest string quartets and being able to add flute and French horn in there as well, but just being able to try something different. And then I imagine with the next Marillion album, whenever the process is being made for that creativity is going to be going into there, and between the 5 of you, I'm sure you'll feel it can be some of the strongest Marillion material to date.
Well, yeah, I hope so. I mean, we've been jamming a lot over the last few months, hopefully trying to gather material and inspiration for the next album. And next year, apart from, we've got a couple of things early on in the year. I think we're doing the Cruise to the Edge gig early on in 2020. But apart from that, we're going to be in the studio writing for the whole of the year. So we'll see what happens, I think. I heard a rumour, Josh, that you're a Magma fan.
I am, actually, yes.
I'll tell you, that guy, Christian Vander, the drummer with Magma, has inspired me for my whole career, ever since the 70s. I mean, the guy is he's a genius. And I was just watching some of his stuff earlier, and he's still got it. He's still Magma. I mean, they're a one-off. They're quite unique, but a lot of people that had never discovered them, they're suddenly getting a whole new wave of fan base, I think. And the guy's just an amazing musician. I even got his autograph last year.
Oh, that is just so cool. And I'm glad to see when you do have like those inspirations of how you started off, something like Magma, just even like last year, just being able to get his autograph after being a fan and being inspired by them for so long. That's just so cool.
Yeah, I've seen him in concert since the 70s, actually, and I mean, he blew me away in the 70s, and it was like something I'd never experienced before, the whole experience of a Magma concert. And I saw them again a couple of years ago, and he did it again. The band did it again. And now the stuff on YouTube that's coming out, in fact, there's another act I think they've just recorded one of their original albums from the 70s with a full orchestra. But it's something else. I just watched 20 minutes actually of something on YouTube, and it just blew me away again. It's wonderful. It gives me hope.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you see a band like Magma, who, between everyone that was ever a part of that band, just like being able to show off some great creativity like that, being able to reach out and, have like a full orchestra behind them and just getting a brand new sense of what the band could be about. I mean, it shows that other bands can be able to do that as well, and no matter what sense it is. And again, that's why it's so great to be able to listen to this new release from Marillion and being able to hear these songs with a new take on them as well, because it feels like it adds so much more emotional depth to the songs that I didn't even realize that you could add this much more emotional depth to these songs. But when you add those strings to it, I mean, there's just something about it that just adds so much to it. And I'm really glad that you went full board on that, because I really feel that it just makes the songs even stronger, like we talked about before. And I'm glad to see that it is getting such a response, ever since that first show into what you're doing now with this current tour, just being able to do something like this and just show where you are in 2019.
Yeah, it's really encouraging. I mean, as a band, we always want to feel like we're being creative, and we always, I should think, most bands, we want to feel like we're moving forward and not standing still or kind of just being nostalgic. We want to feel like we're still contributing to music somehow, and so we don't want to stand still. Mind you, at our age, we're probably going to have to stand still sometime. Just have to catch your breath.
Or
everyone's in good health, I think. I can't touch wood. No, everyone's good. And but I have just done, as I said, an overnighter from Oxford to Scotland, which was an 8-hour drive on the bus, and it was lashing with rain all the way here. There's lots of serious flooding going on in northern England at the moment. It's quite a disaster, really. So, of course, Steve Hogarth wrote a song in 1989 called Season's End about climate change, and it still hasn't caught on.
Oh. Yeah, just the irony of that as well, too. I mean, 30 years later, being able to write, 30 years ago, being able to write a song about like that, having it re-recorded for this release in 2019, and yeah, it still hasn't gone on with the masses, with the message that's going on with it.
I know, it's quite disturbing, isn't it, that so many things are still very current, that's happening around. I mean, I'm not a political person at all, but what the hell is going on in the world, really? It's mind-blowing. I just can't get my head around what's going on everywhere. So we're so fortunate to be in this kind of capsule, this bubble that we're in as a band. And I think you mentioned that I don't know how long we've been going now, but for any band to survive the length of time that we've been together is a miracle, really. So keep it going.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's so many bands that have come from your time that have skyrocketed to massive success and then just broken apart just as fast. And the members of the bands don't even want to talk to each other anymore. And, it's just like so many things have like so much turmoil that can happen into a band. And, be it success, be it other problems that can relate to being in a band, personal issues, whatever the case is. But just like decades upon decades with Marillion being able to still be here, still being able to enjoy each other's company enough to be able to write music together, share a tour bus together, and just being able to play and write music together. I mean, that alone is such a beautiful thing to see, let alone being able to see that creativity continue going forward.
Yeah, it really is quite an achievement. I mean, as you say, all bands have ups and downs, but I think it was a year or two after Steve had joined the band that we all sat down really and said, look, far as our writing, let's just split, if there's anything to gain by this, let's just split everything totally equally. So straight away, what that did, I think, for us was no one had to worry about, their contribution to the writing side of things, because whatever happens, everything is split totally equally. And I think that's a major contribution to a lot of bands staying together long term, because you don't get that kind of bickering about, oh, wait a minute, one person's maybe earning a lot more money than another person. It's usually the drummer, actually, that suffers mostly, the drummer and the bass player. We're not musicians, I'm a drummer. No, anyway. Is it a drummer without a girlfriend? Is homeless. So I do think that there's certain bands, I think bands like Coldplay, I think they split everything totally equally. I think Queen ended up doing that as well. I don't know what other bands, but for the longevity of a band, I think that's a major contribution. It's certainly been working for us. And I think we're all, the older we get as well, you just want to make the most of everything. And as you say, if you're locked up on a tour bus 24 hours a day, it only takes one person to kind of ruin everything, So it's good that everyone feels safe in the environment. I mean, we're a band. The wrong coloured M&Ms are in the dressing room, we could split up. You never know.
And Again, just like being able to find the humor with it as well too. I think that's just so important. Rather, of course, being in a band. I mean, there's so much seriousness that does come along with it too. But being able to actually enjoy yourselves, being able to find things humorous. I mean, just so many things that you can enjoy about other people that you're working with, writing music with, being able to interact with fans. I mean, when you can find those positivities in there, let alone the financial situations, which I'm glad that, it's been able to work for as long as it has, being able to continue on till the end. But again, just finding those positives to be able to continue forward, having them outweigh the negative is just so important. And again, I'm just so grateful that Marillion has found that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Humor is, for me, you've got to have a sense of humor. I mean, you've got to have a sense of humor really to be a musician, I think. You've probably got to have a sense of humor just for, in any walk of life at the moment, to continue. But it's important in a band to be able to not take yourself maybe so seriously as you did when you were in your early 20s or late teens, and appreciate what you have. And as I said, hopefully, anyone in music or the arts, if someone's earning a living doing what they love, I mean, good luck to them, because that's a difficult one, earning a living in this game. And touch wood, we've managed that. When I say we split everything equally, we do, but of course that also applies to any debts, which also takes the pressure off if we all know that we're all got to keep an eye on each other.
Well,
but yeah, you're right. We're very fortunate, and to be in a working band, earning a living, and doing what we love, and having a really good time. To be honest, I can't deny it. I'm really enjoying myself at the moment, and still getting inspired by musicians, and I still want to learn more. Which is a bit strange. I bought a new drum last year, a new snare drum, a Ludwig Black Beauty snare drum. And it was very strange. I sent an email around to the boys because I opened the box and I was really very excited about getting it. And I thought, this is a bit late in my career to get so excited about getting a new drum. And I just emailed the boys and said, is it too late in my career to be excited about getting another drum? But it kind of flashed me back to when I was a kid, dreaming of opening a box with a Ludwig snare drum in it. So that's a good thing.
And I love that too. I love that you can still be excited about that after so many years of being able to play, being able to play around the world. And you get excited by easily one of the best snare drums that's ever been created with the Black Beauty. I mean, the fact that you're able to add that to your collection, be able to make so much more inspiration and creativity behind that with a new type of setting, and being able to add that to your magnificent setup. I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, I've had a Ludwig Black Beauty snare drum for over 45 years, and but I just noticed last year that it's gone a bit rusty, and I think a car ran over it once, and I had to have it reshaped. And I just thought maybe it's time to invest in getting a new one. So it's in the studio at the moment. I use it in the studio, and but I think actually I've noticed that all the boys in the band that still get excited about whether it's a bass guitar or a guitar, or I mean they still appreciate really good workmanship that goes into a good instrument, and. Yeah, now Steve Hogarth's got a passion for guitars. He's getting quite a collection, actually.
Oh, that is just so cool, and it's great to see that everyone is still so excited about their instruments and their crafts. Sometimes, like in Steve's case, being able to switch over to guitars and just being able to find inspiration that way. But when it comes to you too, I mean, obviously having Black Beauty for so long, what have you noticed that was different between that original Black Beauty that you had compares to your brand new one?
Josh?
Yes.
You're back. Oh, we got cut off again.
Oh, sorry about that.
They've just done. There's subtle differences, like the lugs on the actual lugs that are attached to the drum have now got a kind of nylon-y plastic base on them between the shell and the actual lug. And the snare strainer itself is much better too. So, but that's about it. So it's quite subtle things, but it is a thing. It's a thing of beauty. Still love it. It's great sound. For me, it's got. I can use it in the studio. I can use it live. It can handle any situation that I'm in. So. It's a good thing.
Oh, that's incredible. And again, just like having that Black Beauty snare and then having that to your amazing setup that you have, like between all the toms and the cymbals that you're able to have that, so many different kinds of sounds that you have in your kits. I mean, it's great to see that you do have that sound, the sounds that you're looking for, and, just being able to really put that to your advantage. Like no matter how thick the cymbals are, no matter how thin the cymbals are, the depths of the toms, just like knowing what your sounds that you are looking for and then being able to apply them the best you can.
Yeah, well, I've had the same cymbal set up for most of my career, really, and it's always been Zildjian cymbals, and I remember I used to go and choose them at the Zildjian at the head office, and I used to take, a drummer called Dave Mattox?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, Dave was a good friend of mine, and he used to take me to Zildjian's cymbals, and I remember one day going in there to choose a ride cymbal, and he said to me, "All right, Ian, there were about 6 or 7 ride cymbals." He took them all into another room, and he played each one, and he said, "Which one do you like the sound of?" And I said, "To be honest, Dave, I want the shiny one." Because they had one with a brilliant finish on it, and I really liked it. I thought it looked fabulous, and I said, "Dave, I just want the shiny one." I said, "No, you've got to choose the sound that you get off on." So we went through all the cymbals, and I chose the one I wanted, and it was the shiny one, which just made my day. And I still got that cymbal. It's my main ride cymbal today. It's a Z ride. And my crash cymbals are still the same. I'm quite cheap, really. I mean, I haven't really changed my drum kit for many years either. And my only big expense, I suppose, is drum heads. I usually change all my tom heads every 3 gigs. So that's about it. So my kit seems to be it's quite versatile. I can use it for a simple jingle session or a full-blown, full-on, all guns blazing session. It copes with everything.
Oh yeah, and that's what I love so much about it. I mean, like the shiny cymbal, that's a Zildjian Z cymbal. I mean, it's just like it, it's such a thick cymbal too, on top of having that brilliant finish to it, and it's great to be able to hear that, mixed atop like the rest of the cymbals on your kit too, and it has that great distinct sound to it as well. And when you are able to find that distinct sound, when you are able to hit the ride like that, and of course when you're able to have that through your whole kit, there's no real reason to have to switch it up as long as you're still enjoying the sounds.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a lot of the time when I'm touring, sometimes say last year or so, we went to South America, and I'd be using a hired kit, but I'd always take my own cymbals and my own pedals and my snare drum. But my cymbals, I think if I lost my cymbals, I'd be heartbroken. But if I lost the drum kit, well, I could get another. But, that's for me. I find cymbals are such a personal thing, and it's taken me years to, I suppose it's like a comfortable shoe. I know when I'm playing my cymbals, it just feels natural. The sound feels natural. And a nightmare for me would probably have to be starting from scratch, picking out a whole new set of cymbals.
Yeah, and it's great because I feel that exact same way too. Like, I have such an attachment to my cymbals. I mean, well, no matter when I've got them, I mean, like anytime that I see a crack or something like that, it just like it makes me heartbroken as well, because I love the sound of that cymbal so much. And with the drums, it's like you can change the sound of the drum just by the drum head or something like that. And just like you said, you can always get another drum kit, and you can have a great great sound out of that, but the cymbals are just so personal and one of a kind with the way that they're made. It's just like you get such an attachment to them.
Yeah, no, for me, I know some people are very attached to their drum kits as well, and some drum kits, I can understand it. You know, some of the, I think Dave Mattox used to love the Gretsch drum kits because of the craftsmanship that went into them, and you know, the DW kits are very nice. And there's another make, it's an American make, I can't remember the name of it. They cost a fortune, but they look like a work of art. I can't remember the name of them, Josh. Nate, can you name a couple of very expensive drum kits?
I can name many, but yeah, I'm trying to think of the one that you're talking about specifically. I mean, I know there's like a OCDP. There's one that starts with an A that I'm totally blanking out on the name of, like a Avote or something like that. I might be getting it wrong.
Yeah, that's sounding familiar, but it is. I mean, from the pictures I've seen, and I've got a very good friend, a guy called Mark Pardy, who's an English drummer, but he lives in Vegas, and he does all of the shows in Vegas. And he's just been depping in a couple of big sort of Broadway shows, and he said he feels like he's been blessed because the in-house kit is one of these kits, and he showed me pictures of it, and it's got beautiful inlays on the hoops and the bass drum and everything. It really is a work of art. Whereas usually for me with drums, you just say, well, as you say, if you break one, you just get another one out of the box and off you go again. Whereas that doesn't apply for guitars and violins, and I'm probably upset a lot of people by saying that. But you know, some of those perspex, you know, plexiglass kits in the early 70s, 80s sounded amazing. And what were they? They were just sort of lumps. And rototoms didn't even have a shell. So you mic them up. Some of those sounded great too. Bill Bruford used to use them quite a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a good thing about drums, is that there aren't any rules, are there? Yeah. There aren't any, you know, anything goes as long as you're happy.
Exactly. As long as you're getting the sounds and the tones that you're looking for, I mean, there is no going wrong. I mean, you know, just making sure that you have the upkeep on them. I mean, of course, that goes with any instrument. But, yeah, I mean, you can have as many drums, as many cymbals, as few drums as you want to, as long as you're comfortable playing it and you get the sounds you're looking for.
Yeah, and I'm open to all suggestions still, really. I remember when we were recording in Berlin, which album? We were recording the Misplaced Childhood album, and in the studio next to us was, what band was in? Depeche Mode. Do you know that band?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they were recording in a studio next to us, in the next room, and my kit was set up in a quite a live room. And I remember the drummer coming up to me and saying, "Ian, at the time you were allowed to smoke in the studios and stuff, and I was smoked, and I had an ashtray by the side of my drum kit, that one of those when you press the top, it spins round and the ash goes into the bottom, the base of it." He said to me, "Ian, can I borrow your ashtray?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Why?" He said, "It's just got a great hi-hat sound." And I said, "Well, I've got some hi-hats if you really want." "No," he said, "I don't want your hi-hats. I want the ashtray." So I'm flexible.
Oh, that's incredible. And now I'm thinking about that. Like, I'm so curious on what song or songs he used that for. I mean, I'm just so curious to hear what that sound was used for.
Oh, no, I've got no idea.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't really know Depeche Mode's material, but
right.
but they. All I can say is they were really nice guys, and we played pool with them one night, you know, 8-ball, and they thrashed us, which was a bit disturbing because one of them was wearing a leather skirt.
Oh, I mean, that is so cool, though. I mean, the fact that you were able to, you know, get along together in the studios alongside Depeche Mode, and, you know, go out for a night of pool like that. I mean, it's cool to see, like, how many stories can come just from, like, recording an album and seeing who is going to be in studios next to you like that.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I've crossed paths with a lot of musicians over the years and whatnot, and I have to say that, well, out of all of them, I enjoy being around drummers most. And I think even a lot of other musicians like to be around drummers most as well. But there's a certain sense of humour that runs through a drummer's character.
Yeah, and I've always noticed that as well too. And obviously, some drummers are different, of course. But when you're on the back of the stage, you're able to like capture everything that's in front of you, so you can pick up little quirks about everybody. Like sometimes it's the fans, sometimes it's whoever's to your left or to your right or right in front of you. Like when you got everything in front of you, you're able to capture everything that's in front of you. You're able to find what's funny about that. You're able to find that kind of humor about it, and because you're so far in the back, some people aren't going to be paying attention to you, but the drummers pay attention to everybody.
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, I suppose a drummer's job is meant to be to accompany everybody else, isn't it? But you're right, from behind the drum kit, you're aware of everything. You have the full view, panoramic view of everything, really, what's going on. So yeah, and yeah, you do have to be a bit nuts. As you said, Josh, it doesn't apply to all drummers, but one of my most enjoyable things is once a year when I can get to it. It's Zildjian have a get together at various locations in London, but all the endorsers of Zildjian cymbals get together. Usually, it's at the Hard Rock Cafe in London. So there's 50 to 100 drummers all in one room, and it's quite unique. The atmosphere is quite unique, and it's usually great fun. Whereas I think a room full of maybe guitarists might be a little edgier.
Just a little more sense of an ego going on.
I'm never going to work again, am I, after this? Right. Anyway, Josh, listen, I better go and get dressed because I'm meant to be going out in about half an hour.
Oh, sure, yeah, I was just about to say that myself. I think that was a great point to end on, and thank you so much for taking all this time to talk to me while you're on tour, being able to talk about this amazing new recording from Marillion. I love the technique that was used with this. I love how this concept all came together, and I just really love the fact that you've been able to play these shows, being able to enjoy yourselves where you are in Marillion in 2019, and again, just thank you for everything.
No, thank you, Josh. It's been fun, and I hope it continues for many more years. So everything's really good.